Hello again. Please forgive me for reading from these notes, as I could not possibly remember all the words that I will have to say. In my previous video called Stuffed by the State, you will have seen how the UK state/establishment can ruin your life. You will also have seen on my blog that since I did that video, I have got legal opinion from a very experienced criminal barrister who also studies intellectual property law. You will see just how the Intellectual Property Office did not bat an eyelid to break the law time and again to obtain the end result they desired, and this over a period of 18 years, from 1992 to 2010. This video is to bring you up to date and to show you just how thoroughly corrupt our Ministry of Justice and its justice system is, and right up to the top to the Prime Minister and her office. What does this say for British law and its justice system? The IPO knew I had no money to take them to the High Court, which I would have had to go to stop their actions and unlawfulness. As one would hope that any High Court judge would be truly independent, but even that is a gamble these days. For what they did was criminal and no less. Well, now I have this legal opinion that shows I was right about the IPO and its actions and its ability to be thoroughly corrupt. What can I do now? And that is the big question. The police will not want to know, so it's no use trying to go to them to act on the criminality and the perverting of justice that went on, as they don't do crime these days. And remember, you will have seen, if you have read my blog, how they behaved when I went to them in 2010, asking them to investigate all the criminal actions of Busbridge, my ex-London agent. They refused to act and connived with the IPO to refuse my requests, and the IPO promised them they would deal with all that in that last hearing in 2010, and which of course they never did. I have been along all the other avenues open to me to try and get justice through the justice systems, complaints avenues, and I got nowhere. Some months ago I sent the Justice Minister of that time, Liz Truss, a letter outlining how I'd been failed by her justice system. And of course she never even got to see it, as it was dealt by one of her clerks who lied about how she and he could do nothing. But now I had this legal opinion. So later I sent it to the new Justice Minister, a Mr. Lidington, but for a long time I never got an answer. Then the last cabinet reshuffle, which seems to happen every 5 minutes under May, yet another new Justice Minister was taken on, a David Gauke was appointed. So I sent him a new set of papers which showed what happened at that corrupt hearing held by that barrister, Hobbs QC, plus I included the opinion given to me by my barrister, which shows I was right and that the meeting was full of no less than 11 unlawful acts, which in effect eventually perverted the course of justice, which is a criminal act. In other words, agreeing with what I'd always complained about, but I was stonewalled and lied to again and again. So to Theresa May, as she is in effect head of the Ministry of Justice. I told her how they were, in effect, refusing to deal with and investigate what I was exposing to them. I included copies of all the letters to and fro between me and the Ministry of Justice. Eventually, a letter, which you always get when you try to get civil servants to put right a wrong of theirs. I was told she couldn't interfere as the legal system was entirely independent of her, which is an absolute lie, as can be seen just recently when Gork was able to interfere in the case of war boys, as the professor who was in charge of the parole board to resign. They are absolute liars, these politicians. So Mrs. May, in effect, is refusing to even look into this case or force the Ministry of Justice, through its minister, Mr. Gork, to do so. In the past, at various times, I've also tried to get our newspapers interested. You would think that this would be right up their street, especially those papers who are left-wing or liberal-minded. Those that I wrote to did not even answer my letters. But as I now have this legal opinion, I decided to try again, and to all 15 national newspapers. This is how I got on with our wonderful newspapers that nowadays only seem to want to know about well-known people, sex, and nowadays endlessly whittering on about Brexit. What happens to ordinary British people being shat on by our detestable rulers doesn't apparently matter to any British newspaper. The 15 I wrote to are all national newspapers, and I included copies of all the letters between me and Theresa May in order to show exactly what had recently been going on. Not one even bothered to acknowledge my letter or make excuses not to cover it, let alone actually getting in touch with me to get the full story and all my documentary evidence. So what this all means is that today in the UK, if you are just an ordinary person with limited means, it means you stand virtually no chance of ever getting justice, no matter who is responsible. And if it's a government department that is responsible, you have absolutely no chance. Certain cases do seem to excite newspapers, like stories to do with women is one area where you will get listened to. Stories about our hopeless NHS and how they messed you up will almost always get coverage. And ambulance chasing lawyers will represent you for free, as they know they will get huge payouts. Also, of course, if you are an immigrant trying to get in for free or trying to stop your deportation, again you will have lawyers all over you like a bad rash. Our government, by stopping almost all the cases where you can get legal aid, means that this will be your lot. And how great is that for we true blue peasants, I ask. And it means that umpteen thousands of lives are ruined by never ever getting any sort of justice, or even getting the facts of your injustice out there to warn others. Hence why I run this blog, which this video will appear on. All the letters sent to the Ministry of Justice, Theresa May and the newspapers are all shown on the blog, on the links at the right hand side of the page. I will soon be starting a crowdfunding exercise to get the funds to pay for a lawyer, so I can expose all this for the good of the general British public. As for me, I am now too old to benefit, even if I win. Look out on this blog for details if you would like to contribute to help to stop this corruption by exposing it in the law courts. Thank you for your time.